As Ranking Member Schatz noted, what you've done is outright illegal, a complete violation of bipartisan appropriation laws, the Impoundment Control Act, and the Anti-Deficiency Act. Within hours of taking office, President Trump halted all foreign aid in flagrant defiance of the law. Now, under your watch, Secretary Rubio, that freeze was implemented with chaos and cruelty. And then you illegally shuttered USAID, placing everyone on leave, halting life-saving work, literally locking people out of the building and out of their devices, even in dangerous corners of our world.
Well, first, I'd like to respond to your 7-minute speech, which is primarily, I disagree like 99% of it. It's just not true. We've done nothing that's illegal. We've been in over 600 briefings to Congress. We've asked questions. We've answered questions repeatedly. We get hundreds of questions a day. We respond them as quickly as possible. And your characterization of the moves that we made
Mr. Secretary, I would
false.
just tell you,
Patty Murray just unloaded a full 7-minute barrage, throwing every accusation in the book at Secretary Marco Rubio: illegal freezes, collapsing USAID without a shred of authority, botching foreign aid, putting American lives at risk overseas, you name it. She rattles off the hit list: chaotic staff recalls, food aid rotting in warehouses, programs abandoned, congressional requests straight up ignored. She blames Trump's spending cuts for gutting global humanitarian work like it's the end of the world. But then, boom, the moment she finally asks for the actual details on Trump's foreign aid decisions, dead silence. The whole room locks up. They know what's coming. Marco Rubio isn't about to sit there and take it. He leans into the mic. And the freeze hits hard. Democrats stop fidgeting. Schumer goes statue still. Even the audience forgets to breathe. In the next 30 seconds, Rubio flips the script completely, tearing Murray's allegations apart point by brutal point, leaving the entire Democratic side stunned into silence. This is the moment that absolutely shook the room. And it's all playing out again right here. Let's dive in.
Senator Murray.
thank you very much, Chair Graham. Senator Schatz, welcome to your new role. I look forward to working with both of you. Secretary Rubio, I am deeply concerned that you have overseen a systemic campaign to dismantle USAID, impound billions of dollars that this committee actually provided, and unilaterally remake the Department of State without the slightest bit of concern that you lack the authority to do that without Congress. It has created chaos, it's caused preventable deaths across the globe, and it has undermined American leadership. As Ranking Member Schatz noted, what you've done is outright illegal, a complete violation of bipartisan appropriation laws, the Impoundment Control Act, and the Anti-Deficiency Act. Within hours of taking office, President Trump halted all foreign aid in flagrant defiance of the law. Now, under your watch, Secretary Rubio, that freeze was implemented with chaos and cruelty. And then you illegally shuttered USAID, placing everyone on leave, halting life-saving work, literally locking people out of the building and out of their devices, even in dangerous corners of our world. You paid people not to work, abandoned our partners across the globe, and chaotically recalled global staff, putting more than 1,600 Americans who served our country abroad in limbo. And when you shut down the USAID payment system, you even refused to pay for services provided before the illegal freeze. You fought all the way to the Supreme Court, against paying for services U.S. businesses already rendered with funding that Congress already provided. And I know you know, Mr. Secretary, but you lost. And I assume you need the reminder because to this day, you have not made all the payments that are required by our nation's highest court, and as a result, American companies continue to lay off American workers. And by the way, you do continue to lose in court, including just yesterday over your move to illegally replace the U.S. Institute of Peace Leadership, and in recent cases over international broadcasting. Now, eventually, Mr. Secretary, you sent Congress notice of your intent to collapse the USAID into state. Only you didn't consult with this committee. That's required by law. It came without justification, also required by law, and it came long after USAID was reduced to rubble. So sadly, disregard for our laws and values, to me, has sort of become a pattern of your tenor, revoking visas when someone writes an op-ed you don't like, or reaching a secret deal to use taxpayer dollars to jail U.S. residents in a notorious foreign prison, no due process, or pointlessly leaving food assistance to rot in storage. Actually, in Dubai, we now have 500 tons of high-energy biscuits that expire in July. They're bought, they're shipped, they're stored, all at taxpayer expense. But you've condemned them to waste, and that is one example of many. Now, another pattern that I'm deeply worried about is transparency. We have pressed you for information. Our staffs have sent you countless emails and briefing requests so we can do our job here. There are hundreds of unanswered requests and no effort to address them. And Mr. Secretary, that's got to change. Even your plan to reorganize the State Department came with no information on the 270 offices you are moving to eliminate, the proposed layoffs, or how USAID would be merged into state. On USAID and other programs, we can always talk about how we can make things work better and other reforms. I don't think any of us are opposed to any of those considerations. We have been doing that in a bipartisan way for a long time. But that's not actually what Trump's fiscal year 2026 budget proposes. Mr. Secretary, I know you would like to give a 5-minute speech back to me, but I only have a few seconds left, and I do need some information from you. As I said, we have asked and have not gotten. Can you tell me, will you share the text and details with my staff of your agreement with El Salvador and any other similar arrangements, including the funding details that we need to have?
Well, first of all, I'd like to respond to your 7-minute speech, which is primarily, I disagree like 99% of it. It's just not true. We've done nothing that's illegal. We've been in over 600 briefings to Congress. We've asked questions. We've answered questions repeatedly. We get hundreds of questions a day. We respond them as quickly as possible. And your characterization of the moves that we made
Mr. Secretary, I would
false.
just tell you, we are here because we need the information so that we can write our budget and on a bipartisan.
Well, you'll have the information you need to write a budget.
Okay, so will we get the details on the El Salvador arrangement? Yes or no?
Well, which Salvador arrangement?
Your agreement that you've made with them about.
Well, what agreement? The president of El Salvador agreed to take in 250 gangbangers, and we sent them.
Funding details we have not gotten. We need to see what the costs are.
Well, we haven't funded that. We've provided them law enforcement assistance. I know you just claimed that we cut all this law enforcement assistance. We provided El Salvador and other countries law enforcement assistance. They have the right to spend that money any way they wish. But they did us a big favor. They took 250 dangerous, trained out. We didn't deport any U.S. residents. No U.S. residents were reported.
I'm not going to argue with you on that point.
Well, there's not an argument, but don't say we deported U.S. residents because we didn't. I don't deport anybody.
I'm not asking.
But we didn't deport U.S. residents.
I'm asking you whether we can see the details of the arrangements, including the funding details.
I'm giving you the details. The arrangements are we provide law enforcement funding to El Salvador, among other countries. How they choose to spend that money internally is up to them.
No.
But I can tell you.
Can you give me the details on the 200-plus offices you're proposing to
Sure, we've
eliminate?
provided that.
We need that. Can I get your commitment to give us those?
It's part of our reorg.
How about the details and justifications of your proposed rescissions from programs you claim are out of alignment with administration priorities? Are we going to get the details of that, funding priorities?
On rescissions and empowerment and things of this nature, that's obviously an OMB function, and I would talk to them about that in regard to what's going to go on with that money. I can tell you the contracts we canceled. And I can list to you the contracts we canceled and the rationale why, because I went through them myself.
Can you get those to us like today? So
the contracts?
Yes, and the funding arrangements that you've made. That's what I'm asking for.
Funding arrangements with who?
For any of the rescissions, for any of the funding, for any of the multiple congressional directives that you have given out so that we as an appropriations committee can make our funding decisions.
Sure, you're going to have all that information when you put together a budget.
Thank you. I enjoyed that.
When the dust settled, Secretary Marco Rubio stood there completely unshaken, delivering one of the calmest, most devastating takedowns you'll ever see. What started as Patty Murray's aggressive, 7-minute emotional onslaught just crumbled under Rubio's razor-sharp clarity, ironclad command of the facts, and ice-cold confidence. Democrats tried painting a picture of total chaos and lawlessness. Rubio hit back with straight evidence, total transparency, and a rock-steady breakdown of processes that were 100% lawful, leaving the room so quiet you could hear a pin drop. He walked through the El Salvador agreement like it was nothing, corrected every twisted claim about deportations on the spot, and exposed the glaring contradictions in Murray's whole narrative. Every single response landed like a precision strike. Every clarification yanked the rug right out from under her attack. Even Schumer, who'd been leaning in, practically salivating for a fight, froze mid-lean as Rubio seized total control of the hearing. Rubio made it crystal clear. These decisions weren't reckless. They were deliberate, legal, and locked in on America's interests first. He reminded the committee the info had been handed over multiple times already. Congressional briefings were ongoing, and every required budget document was coming exactly when it was supposed to. By the time he wrapped, the whole energy in that room had flipped 180 degrees. Democrats rolled in hot, guns blazing. Rubio walked out owning the wind. His poise crushed their outrage. His facts demolished their accusations. His leadership made every attempt to corner him look pathetic. This was Rubio's moment, pure and simple. The noise evaporated. The doubts vanished. The committee had no choice but to face the truth staring them down. The attack didn't just fail, it got obliterated, and Marco Rubio walked away the clear winner. If you live for these no BS moments where facts shut down the theater, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think came out on top? And hit subscribe. More of these raw breakdowns coming your way. Stay locked in.